This is a valve, a Chapman tuner I picked up recently on eBay. Very cheap, very local pickup. It's easy enough to collect. It's about 20 miles from where I live, just outside of Tunbridge Wells. I love Chapman stuff. It's sort of later became Deritron, and I think they look a beautiful radio. This is only a medium wave and shortwave radio. It's pretty basic. I think it's a 7-valve radio. I'll show you in a minute inside. Magic Eye tuning indicator here. Medium wave, shortwave 1, shortwave 2, and band spread for the 2 shortwave bands. So pretty straightforward. What it does have, and a lot of the Chapman tuners had, selectable IF frequency, volume on/off switch, tuning control, and selectable band. Select the band spreads, shortwave 1, shortwave 2 as I mentioned, medium wave, and a gram input. Fairly straightforward, nothing to write home about. The only thing I suppose it was a bit unusual was the selectable IF bandwidth on a tuner at this sort of era was pretty fairly specialised. Obviously the tuner was designed for sort of like DX work and picking out really lots of signals in a crowded shortwave band. Now the front panel is in lovely condition, really nice condition. That's what really took my eye. It was very cheap. I paid £10 for this receiver, tuner, whatever you want to call it. And I wouldn't have bothered otherwise, but it's because it was in such nice condition. When I got it, the tuning cord had become disconnected, and I picked it up from an elderly gentleman. No, he wasn't that old. I suppose he was probably a bit older than me, probably about 60, 65, something like that. And he had obviously had a garage full of sort of old equipment, and he obviously just wanted to get rid of this. So I reconnected the tuning dial, very straightforward. You'll see in a second inside. Reconnected that, so I got the tuning back. And when I got it home, I thought, oh, there really isn't a lot inside it actually. And I was thinking, surprisingly sparse, even for a medium wave tuner. And I'm thinking, something doesn't look right here. Something's missing. And of course, no transformer. And I think bloody no mains transformer. So I checked the listing, and sure enough, he did actually specify that it needed a power supply, and the power supplies were remote on these. So I thought, well, not the end of the world. I'm sure I could find a transformer easily enough. So this is the inside of the tuner. We've basically got the sort of the RF front end here, and then we've got various stages of IF and detectors, and that's basically it. So you've got local oscillator adjustments and a couple of IF transformers. Very straightforward, very simple to use. Interestingly enough, the tuning gang here, as you can see, is a 3-stage. So it's got an RF amplifier. So one does the local oscillator, and one does the RF amplifier, and one does the aerial tuner. So we've got 3-stage tuning, which is slightly better than a normal, very budget set. But you might be able to also see, I don't know if you can see here, just in here, light's not very good, but there's I see a gang for an FM set as well, and they did do an FM tuner as well, and AM FM tuner, and that's obviously for the FM. It's not connected in this set obviously because there's no FM, but the provision is there by the looks of it. So I've reconnected up the tuning dial. The cord's okay, in good condition. Obviously all the valves are in position, and they all look in good condition. None of them are cracked, nothing obviously wrong. So the first stage will be to try and power it up and see if we get any sort of first of all, I think we'll put the heater current through it, see if we get any heater current supply, and make sure all the valves light up, and then we'll apply some high voltage to the set and see what it does. Now, I did manage to download a manual for it. Let me just bear with me whilst I get the exposure right. I've got a manual exposure at the moment, and it's being a bit of a pain in the bloody arse to. Okay, so here's our mains transformer coming in here. Multiple taps for different sort of like continents input voltage. You've got these 2 taps here. There's your 6.3 for your heaters. That's straightforward enough. Then you've got an EZ80 or whatever this is. It's usually an EZ80 rectum fryer. and the rectum fries the DC voltage and puts it across this smoothing capacitor here and supplies it into the set. Now this set's slightly different. It seems to have an external supply connected to it, and we're going to have to supply an external supply from our high voltage power supply. But let's get the heaters up and running, power it up, give it a chance to warm up, and then we'll apply some DC voltage and see what happens. Okay, I found the heater connections. That's clearly the heater connections there. You can tell by the dial lights are up on the front panel, which is a good sign that the heater current is being supplied to the valves. So let's have a look, so we can see if any of these valves are lit up. Let's get the mic out. Move the camera over here. You should be able to see one of these valves lit up, hopefully. They're not very bright. But, we've definitely got heater current because the current consumption on the power supply is about 2 amps. You can see this valve should be visible. There we go. And you can see that heater's on that Mullard ECF80 or whatever it is. What is it? EF80 valve. You can see that's lit up. So there's clearly the heaters going to the valve. The next step will be to power up the high tension, turn the volume up, wind the HT up slowly, and see if we get any signs of life. Okay, they've got the high tension connected up to the unit, and it's obviously designed, I think it wasn't actually meant to have an onboard transformer. I think the power supply was remote. There's no sign of a fixing for transformer, and there's that multi-way plug obviously connects into the power supply section. So it's probably out of a radiogram or something, maybe. But the condition of it looks like it almost hasn't ever been used. The valves are clean and they're not dusty. So maybe this set has never been used. Maybe it was a tuner that Chapman supplied as spares or something. Someone's bought one when they folded, maybe, and it's never been installed in anything. So what I've got is we've got the tuning, I think, on what we got, because the light's not very good in here, so I want to get the light dim so if the magic eye starts to work you can see it. Now medium wave. Basically what I'm going to do, the heaters are on, so the cathodes are hot, so they're ready to emit as soon as I apply high voltage. You can see the pharmacy power supply here. This is our input voltage, should I say. Now I expected about 250 volts. It looks like the schematics suggest about 250 volts for the high tension. I've connected up to the audio amplifier, so we should, if we get anything, if it works, we should hear something. I'm just going to turn the fan off in the background. It's a bit cold in the workshop at the moment. So let's have a listen. So I'm going to increase the voltage. 10 volts, 20, 35, 40. Oh, magic eye is starting to work. Can you see the magic eye is just starting to illuminate? Can't hear anything at the moment. Let me just check I have actually connected the audio up. No, I think I've disconnected the audio, reconnect the audio up. There's a slight hiss. And that's at 60 volts. Let's increase the voltage. The 100, you can clearly see the magic eyes working now. So that's at 100 volts, and we're drawing 14 milliamps. Just give it a little chance to reform any sort of electrolytics. I can't see any electrolytic capacitors in here, and I don't suppose you would expect any electrolytics because the power supply is off board. So give it a couple of minutes, have a tune round so we can hear anything. Yep. I'm not sure it's my signal generator. No, it's not. And the current's fluctuating around about 15 milliamps, which is what you'd expect. Pretty low. some kind of recognisable radio station. I'm just wondering if these, so anything electronic in here will interfere with this radio. Okay, let's increase the input voltage then. So let's go up to 200 volts. Magic car should become brighter. No, I can hear the gain really coming up on the amplifier now. RF gain. There we go. 200 volts. Current consumption is 26 milliamps. So it's clearly receiving something, but it's pretty poor. So what I think I'll do is I'll try and connect up a better aerial and we'll give it another go. Okay, got an external aerial connected up. Seems pretty sensitive actually.
It's seeing Brian Burner scorch.
This is selectable bandwidth. Clearly working.
I think it's sufficient to secure a Rugby World Cup final victory, but I do think that it is more powerful than...
A nice sound actually, mainly because it's got such a wide bandwidth. I mean 10 kilohertz is exceptionally wide for medium wave, probably more than you'd normally need. I think the centre one of 7 kilohertz is probably fine.
So it is quite a bit larger.
Current consumption down to 19 milliamps.
Xhaka releasing a statement this evening, giving us an explanation into his feelings. He mentions that he's not been understood by the fans and repeat abusive comments.
Very nice sound actually for medium wave.
Have hurt him deeply. Let us know what you think about that.
So basically the radio is obviously clearly working, yet to prove the alignment of the set, but I think this will do for part 1 of the video. So tell me what you think, and if anyone's had experience with Chapman tuners I'll be interested. Thanks for watching, and maybe a part 2.